You've been trying to take care of yourself and doing all the things so that you could be quote unquote healthy, but you're still not feeling that great. This is Sanando Juntos, Healing Together with Alma. I'm Dr. Alma, pharmacist turned functional health coach. Here we look at health through mind, body, and soul with science, cultura, and real life into the mix. So grab your cafecito, your matcha, or whatever is fueling you today, and let's get into it. Salud. Welcome back to Sanando Juntos, Healing Together, but today it's Healing Together with Alma and Emir. I want to tell you a little bit about my husband, Emir, before bringing him on. Like me, he is also Mexican, came to the US as a baby, grew up in an immigrant household, and was the first in his family to go to college to become a civil engineer. He's the practical one that likes to have everything on spreadsheets while I just roll my eyes at him. Emir is also my podcast editor, so major thanks to him for helping me out because I wouldn't be able to get these out to you without him. Welcome back to Sanando Juntos. In today's episode, my hubby is back on the podcast with me. Welcome. How are you doing today?
I'm doing all right. How are you?
I'm doing good. Are you happy to be back on the show?
Of course, the first time was a little bit nervous, but now I'm back, and the more we practice, the better we get. So here we go.
All right. So, on today's episode, we're going to be talking about the top 3 habits that we had to unlearn in our respective health journeys. As with everything else in our relationship, the way we look at our health has changed throughout our time together. And by no means are we done, but we know so much more now than we did before. And we want to share it with you in case it helps you think about these things now, too. We will also be talking about some healthier swaps that we use in our home now. And then we're going to be ending with a little rapid fire of likes and dislikes. Shall we begin?
Let's do it.
All right, let's start with the habits that we had to unlearn in our health journeys. Number 1 is pushing through exhaustion. I want to talk about this one a little bit because, at least in my experience, my parents were always hustling. They were always working nonstop. They had multiple jobs and they were running from one job to the other, and they were constantly pushing through exhaustion.
Would you say it was kind of more of survival mode?
Absolutely. It was survival mode because they had to make ends meet. So they had to work ridiculous amount of hours and had to push through. Because if my mom saw that we were resting, she would call us lazy and she would give us something to do,
Mhm.
So we always needed to be doing something.
So then when you started working, you just had to kick butt and just be on it.
Yes and no. I mean, I think it happened through school as well. So I think it just coincided that the career that I picked was very demanding, even right off in grad school. I had to study a lot and I didn't sleep as much as I should have. I probably didn't feed myself as well either. And then, of course, my career being a pharmacist, I actually had to push through exhaustion. That was part of the job. And, unfortunately, it took changing my job from the fast paced retail to the hospital job to realize that there was a better work life balance. And so that's when I learned that I didn't have to push through exhaustion. Of course, it was still busy, it was still stressful, but I still was able to find a better balance so that I wasn't always so stressed out. So I had to unlearn it that way. And now I feel like I don't compromise my rest and relaxation with my work. I'm able to divide both and be able to find ways to de stress when I come home or ways to just not bring it home with me.
Hmm. Okay. I think my experience was a little different. I know my parents worked a bunch. My parents worked at a hotel, and then after that work, my dad would go cut lawns. I would often go with him, but my mom would go home, and therefore I didn't see the constant go like you may have had. So I feel like maybe it was a little bit relaxed, but still working with my dad, I developed good work habits. So when I started working, I developed good work habits.
A good work ethic.
That's what it is.
Mm.
I developed a good work ethic. I knew that I had to do a good job. So when I went to work, there were several projects that I moved to that demanded 80 to 100 hours a week just because of an accelerated schedule. I often remember that by the second or third week, I would get sick. I would have to take a day off because basically I was pushing through exhaustion. I just felt that this was a demand that my job had at that moment, and I had to work. Then later on, when we got together and slowly going to different projects where it wasn't as demanding, you realize that you want to have a better work life balance, and therefore you can have more time to relax. It wasn't such faster pace, and lucky for us, we were able to get jobs that paid a little bit more, where we weren't
Yeah.
burning the candle on both ends like you did in pharmacy school. And when I was in college, it was a little bit less demanding for me. Obviously, I wasn't as smart as you.
When did you unlearn to not work so many hours, or was it just because your job got less demanding?
Yeah, the projects that I would go to, all the overtime wasn't required. It wasn't as fast paced. So I remember one of the first jobs I got when I came back to Illinois. It was a really fast pace, and unfortunately, they stuck me on night shift right away.
Mm-hmm.
So that was awful. But then after that, I went to a job where it was just the 40 hours, and it was boring because you weren't doing as much. I think it's just the need of the projects that I've been on.
Yeah, I think that's a good point because as newbies, right, as rookies, you almost have to like pay your dues and
Correct.
do the shit work so that
Yeah.
you can get the good positions later on. And so now we are at a point in our careers where we can honestly say we now are in better positions where we can have better work life balance as
That
well.
that's correct.
Well, I think a lot of us don't realize how disconnected we are from our bodies until the body forces you to pay attention, like you said, with you working so hard and then your body just kind of shut down on you. So I think that's a good way to acknowledge that you're pushing through exhaustion and trying to figure out how not to do that in the future. So obviously there is a hustle season, which we both had, but at some point, you realize the toll that that takes on your health and maybe try to change things, trying to better your job or find better ways to relieve stress.
Correct. I agree.
All right, so let's move on to habit number 2. Drum roll, please. Habit number 2 is thinking that healthy means perfection. I want to toss this one over to you first to see what your thoughts are on this habit and how you've experienced this.
In general, I think it's very difficult to maintain a diet or fad or whatever you want to call it, and do it 100%. Uh, as we learned early on when we were starting our health journey, I guess like almost 10 years ago, there's a lot of restaurants, a lot of just places in general that weren't set up for the lifestyle we wanted to live. When we were at home, we could control everything we used to cook and what we made. But if we went out with friends, parents, holidays, or parties, dinners, whatever, a lot of times we didn't know what was in the foods. When you're eating clean, and then on the weekends you're going out and you don't know the ingredients, you don't know what's in food, and so it's a misconception that you have to keep it 100% because it's difficult to do it perfectly.
Yeah, I think we did try to at the beginning when we were first trying to figure out our eating, and we would ask for things at the restaurant. So we were those people.
Can I have a piece of lettuce instead of a bun?
Yeah, yeah. Do
And
you
it's
remember
like,
that when we asked that like
what?
10 years ago or
Yeah.
so, and we were asking for the lettuce instead of the bun, and they looked at us like we were crazy sometimes, and we were like, "Well, we just don't want the bun. We just want more lettuce," and it was just like the weirdest request. It's so
Oh
funny.
yeah. Or getting more veggies instead of like French fries or something. I
Yeah,
think.
like substitutes, and they were
Yeah.
like, "No, we don't do that," or "That's extra."
Or else we're gonna charge you $2 extra for splitting a plate.
Yeah, so dumb. But I'm glad that restaurants are catching up with this because now it's not that hard. And it still is hard to go out, like you said, and try to, keep within what you want to eat and stay within like the rules that you set up for your diet. And so you're right. We don't go crazy about that anymore. We do our best when we are at home and we can control what we can. But when we go out, we are a little bit more lax and we don't stress about it too much anymore. What my take is on it is I had this toxic trait, and I say I had because I am doing better with this. But when I eat a cheat meal or I'd eat a piece of cake or something, and then I'm like, okay, so I did that, and now my whole day is effed. Like, fuck it. I screwed up my entire day. So now I'm just going to eat whatever I want. It's already too late.
Eat whatever you want because it's Mother's Day.
Yeah. But the thing is that just the one thing would be like something that I usually don't do. And then I would just use that as an excuse to ruin my entire day with, all this other junk stuff. But I don't do that anymore. So now I know that I can do the one thing. and then I can course correct and it's going to be fine. Unfortunately, I learned a little bit late because when I am on this trajectory where I'm like, fuck it, I already did this. Now I'm going to eat like this the entire day. I really did feel like crap and it really wasn't worth it. So for me, I feel like I can do the one thing and then I could just move on. I had to unlearn that. Do you think people stress themselves out too much trying to be healthy all the time?
I would say so. I think nowadays, social media or just society in general has people that portray a certain kind of lifestyle. And so there's a lot of young adults that are more focused on the way they look and the way they present themselves. So, yes, they constantly have to eat a certain way or dress a certain way. And a quick thought that popped in my head is because we just watched The Devil's Wear Prada. We were rewatching it, the Emily character and I don't remember the other character's name. The Anne Hathaway character. They were talking to each other.
Andrea, Andy.
Andrea, yeah. Andrea was to Emily, it's like, you look so skinny. And she's like, yes, thank you for noticing. I don't eat anything. And when I feel like I'm going to pass out, I eat a cube of cheese. And it's just like, what are you doing?
With
And so, like, people are concerned about that. So, yes, they stress themselves out instead of if you eat a balanced meal, you're going to be fine. Take your time to look at ingredients and you'll see that you can have a whole bunch of food and not have to worry about gaining weight as long as you're eating right and getting some exercise in it.
I honestly think that consistency is where it's at, and that's changed more for us than perfection ever did. And it took some time to learn that, but now I think we're in a good place and have a good balance on this. Okay, habit number 3 is waiting until things get really bad to do something about it. I want to touch on this one because again, I think this is important for our Latino communities. I don't know if I speak for you, but I have personally seen people that wait until something happens, and I'm talking specifically for their health, but it could apply to pretty much anything in life. But they wait until something really bad happens with their health to try to do something about it or try to fix it, to change habits, to change lifestyle. And I don't want to say it's too late because it's never too late, but I feel like at that point it is a lot harder to reverse. So because I have seen this in my community and with my loved ones, I realized that I don't want to do that. I don't want to wait until something happens with my health to do something about it or to course correct. I've decided that I really want to be proactive with my health. I read patient charts all the time, and all of a sudden, people have a list of symptoms, and then all of a sudden, it's cancer, right? And so, a lot of these things that happen, sometimes we do not have control over, but I want to do my best to control what I can to prevent preventable diseases. So, I'm taking a more proactive approach. I want to break this habit. I've gone through some health issues, and that has helped me reflect. I try to take care of my nutrition. I try to do exercise and movement and incorporate other things so that I can make sure to prevent what is in my control to prevent. What is your take on this?
Well, I guess I didn't really go to the doctor a lot. So, as like you mentioned before with the Latino community, a lot of times you don't go see the doctor until something happens. And so, for me, when I had to go work overseas, I had a full workup and I found out that I had some medical conditions. And so, from then, I stayed pretty consistent with going to the doctor once a year. In that retrospect, I'm a little bit different than most Latino men. I consistently see the doctor. I know what's going on with my health for the most part. There have been some new things lately, and I try to correct them and hopefully for the better. I have family members who waited a long time before going to see doctors, and then they found out that there's stuff going on. And so, if they would have gone earlier, they probably could have stopped it or reversed it.
So there's a couple of things that you talked about, which I do want to talk about. So yes, unfortunately, I think that this is more common in the Latino men. They tend not to get care. They tend not to be proactive about their health. And like you said, people go to the doctor when they need help with something. And I am really glad that you do take that initiative with your health to make sure that you do your lab work and you get your appointments in with your doctor. We're still very holistic. So if there's something going on with our health, we do have a holistic provider that also gives us insight. So we do both in that regard. We have broken that habit of waiting until things happen, and we're trying to be more proactive with our health. And then the second thing that I wanted to touch up on is sometimes when things happen with our family members or that people that we love, we notice a couple things. So sometimes they do take news about medical conditions or whatever if they were diagnosed, and they do course correct. They want to try to improve their health. They want to try to make things better. And then there's the other side where, unfortunately, they get this piece of information, but they don't course correct and they keep on this path of doing things as they were. And we see the repercussions of them not changing and not taking care of themselves. And that's also something that makes you realize that this is real. Like if you have something going on and you don't really address it and you don't really do anything about it, the consequences of that are far worse. I think in that regard, we both have seen it and we both realize that is definitely not the way to go.
Yeah, I think a lot of times these new drugs, people use them as band-aids to mask other stuff, but their habits don't change. Get off of these drugs, they're going to realize that they're going to go back to these old habits or their conditions may be worse. I have a coworker who's on some kind of GLP-1. He's
Hmm.
lost a bunch of weight, but I think because his blood sugar drops a lot, guess what he has for breakfast every morning? In the office,
Donuts.
walks in with a Dunkin' Donuts bag,
Oh
and
my
it's one or
God.
two donuts every day. And he used to have a Pepsi or two, and now he stopped that, but now it's a donut or two every morning. Like I feel like I can say something, but it's not gonna matter. Like
No,
he's gonna do whatever he wants.
they have a different mindset.
Yeah, like
It's kind of crazy. So yeah, it's just things like that that we see, and a lot of times we do have to bite our tongue. It'd be interesting to see the outcomes for this person. Unfortunately, I don't know if it's gonna be good, but but we've all heard of that uncle that smoked and drank till they were like 80 and still standing, and they're just super healthy. So now our goal is prevention, and we are not near retirement or anything, but that's something that we are starting to look at. And for me, my goal is no longer to be super hot or anything like that. That's like a side effect of taking care of yourself. But my goal now is longevity. I want to be a strong, kick ass old lady. That's where my sights are set now. What about you?
sure, I'd like to be a kick-ass old lady as well. I'm just kidding. I think just healthy, I guess. You see a lot of people that it can barely function in the 60s or 70s, and then
Right.
there's people that will function well into their 80s, even longer. So I think just being able to walk and primarily, like, I just want to play golf till I get old, and that would be good. If I can do that, I think I've won.
Yeah, like your quality of life would
Yeah.
be great. And so I think that's really important because you could also grow old and be hurting and be miserable and a bunch of meds and be sick and not be able to do the things you enjoy as you get older. So I think now we're kind of looking at that aspect of our lives and wanting to be a little bit more sturdy as we age. So now we're just going to pivot. We went through these top 3 habits. Hopefully that gave you something to think about, something to maybe work on. But if you have any comments, feel free to leave those. We'd love to hear them. But we're going to be moving on to food swaps because on social media, they have asked for our food swaps and what we do because we are Mexican. So our diet is in question a lot of time because the staples that we use tend to be very high carb, tend to be very quote unquote unhealthy according to nutritionists out there who aren't attuned with our culture.
Who paid for the studies?
So I wanted to talk about food swaps and what we actually do at home. Honestly, when we look back, none of these changes happened overnight for us. A lot of it was just small shifts over time, changing habits, changing our mindset, and learning what actually made us feel better instead of just doing what everybody said we should be doing. One thing that really has helped us was finding more realistic swaps and routines that fit into our actual lifestyle without making health feel so stressful and so restrictive. All right. One of the biggest swaps that we made at the way beginning was the oils that we cooked with. We literally said fuera masola. For our purposes, we believe that seed oils are inflammatory, and there's influencers out there saying that they are not. But if we just think about this logically, seed oils, and we're talking about canola, vegetable, corn, soybean, etc. If you think about where they come from, they say, for example, corn. How much oil do you see come out of corn? It's Really not a lot. And do you see how big those bottles of oil are? They have to extract them somehow. And a lot of times they use harsh chemicals to do that, something like hexane. When you extract with harsh chemicals, there is going to be residues of those chemicals on the end product. And so logically, it stands to reason that our bodies were not made to absorb or get rid of these toxins. If you consume a little bit, it's probably not going to be that big of a deal. But when you're consistently eating this stuff over time, that inflammation does add up. So we decided we're going to get rid of them and we're going to incorporate more of the healthier oils or the more natural oils. I'm going to quiz you. How and what oils did we swap for and how do we use them?
So we use the avocado oil or ghee because that has a higher burning point. So therefore, it is healthier for you. And then for salads or something like that, we'll use the olive oil.
Yeah, definitely high heat is the avocado and the ghee and the butter.
The
We
butter.
use butter too. And then for the olive oil, yeah, salads, but also lower heat cooking. For baking, we rarely do. For baking, we use coconut oil because of the taste. It lends itself better for like cakes and cookies and things like that. Also good for high heat. Every once in a while, when we cook bacon, we take the grease and we use that to cook things in it because it tastes really good.
Yeah, when we were more consistent with the farmers markets, we would buy lard from them
Mm-hmm.
and use that to cook. I think something natural like lard, if you can get a good source of it from a good farm, then
Yeah.
it's not bad to use.
Now that you're saying that, I recall once when I was going through my schooling, they told us that fats are bad. So butter and manteca, that it was
Hot take.
yeah, that it was really bad for you. And so when my mom would cook with manteca, I was like, oh no, what are you doing? Don't cook with that. It's so bad for you. You're going to get a heart attack. And I regret that so much because if you get a good quality lard, it is one of the better fat sources. And right now, what's popular is tallow, which is similar. So I had to at some point apologize to my mom and be like, I'm so sorry. You were right. Our ancestors were right, obviously. So yeah, we can use manteca. And honestly, a tamal not made with manteca just doesn't taste the same.
I
Have you ever
agree.
had one?
No, even when I made the tamales with almond flour, we had manteca.
Yeah.
And obviously it's a little different with the almond flour, but yeah, you needed to use manteca.
Yeah, I think we've tried to make them once without the manteca and it did not taste the same. Okay, coffee and creamers. So really the coffee that we drink ideally should be black, but if we add creamer, we've stopped adding that coffee mate crap. If you look at the ingredients or whatever, it's all stuff that I can't
Chemicals.
really read or pronounce.
Yeah.
So we stopped using that. And now if we want to stick to non-dairy, we will do a coconut creamer, which layered. It's my favorite. I don't think you use it too much.
No, and that comes from Laird Hamilton. I believe he's a California surfer, married to Gabby Reese, an
Yeah.
Olympic athlete. He made his own. She likes it a lot.
Yeah, I really enjoy the ingredients and they've been reformulating it. I think it's organic now too. So it's really good. It's one of my favorites, but not the powdered. It has to be the liquid. I do not like the powder and I have not liked it. So I don't get that one. And then almond milk is something we use. With the almond milk, you do want to make sure that is also high quality. Typically, a good almond milk will only have almonds, water, and sea salt or something like that. But if you want to stick to milk, we also do dairy. So our preference would be for a whole milk that's A2. You find that at your grocer, it's A2 milk. And we stick with the whole because we no longer do non-fat, skim. We stick to the whole fats because fats, they're actually really good.
Or we'll use a heavy whipping cream, which is excellent.
Yeah, that's also a good option. But again, a high quality one, usually a grass fed one. We're going to move on to sweeteners. We actually don't have any sugar in the house. If we make you a coffee, don't ask me for sugar because we have none, which is just kind of like something we haven't needed to buy. But if we do bake, which again is not often, we use monk fruit, which comes in a powder. And then on the rare occasion that we eat breakfast items that technically are dessert, like pancakes, we use a syrup from Lakanto with monk fruit. And that syrup is really good. But other than that, I think if we wanted to sweeten up like coffee, we don't. But that coconut creamer that I mentioned is a little bit sweet.
Vanilla flavor. And
Yeah.
instead of the unsweetened, it's got a little bit of flavor.
Yeah, it's a little bit sweet. So that one is one way to add a little bit of sweetener. There's Beekeepers Naturals. They have a superfood jelly that is really honey, but it's like a concentrated version. And I add that sometimes to my coffee, both for the immune system benefits and also it does sweeten the coffee a little bit. But otherwise, we really don't use sweeteners other than that. And
Nope,
then
I've never put any sugar on stuff. I may eat a bunch of stuff that has sugar, but I don't do sugar
you
directly.
don't add sugar.
No added sugars.
All right. And then the next thing is tortillas. And this is a big one, obviously, because it's a staple in Mexican cuisine. But I do have to say that we honestly, since we went keto like 10 years ago, we did the keto. And one of the things that we gave up was tortillas, obviously, because it's very low to no carbs. And if you did carbs, they had to be natural. When we did that, we were able to kind of wean off tortillas entirely, but then we didn't do keto forever. So when we went back to our more normal diets, we added back tortillas, but we were grain free. So then we would just have tortillas that were made from almond flour.
Cassava and chickpea. The Siete brand makes alternatives, and they're pretty decent if you know how to cook them right. But yeah, they were grain free, and they were a great alternative.
Yeah. So we started with those and we ate those every once in a while. But now we have incorporated back tortillas that are corn. I don't know the brand, but they're thin organic corn tortillas, and apparently they just have less grams of carb. But honestly, when we eat tortillas, it really is just maybe one or two at the most per sitting, usually with dinner, one or two times a week tops. So we don't really eat them that often. And every once in a while, we'll go to the local, I guess, what would you call that?
It's supermercado
Yeah,
market,
supermercado,
grocery
and they
store.
make the handmade tortillas. And so every once in a while, we'll go get a packet of those, but they only sell them by the dozen. And a lot of times we don't even eat them all, but they're really good.
Yeah, we just if we know we're gonna share, then it works out best.
Yeah. All right. I did want to address a question from an amiga. She was asking me about gluten free options. I did want to take a moment to address this because when we think about gluten free, we have to think about the marketing, which can be a little tricky. Sometimes they market things as gluten free. But if you really think about it, these things shouldn't have gluten anyway. So sometimes they market chicken as being gluten free, but why would chicken have gluten? So it doesn't really make sense. So you just want to be careful with that. And gluten, what it is, it's just a protein that's found in things like wheat, barley, and rye. So grains. And then some people feel good when they take it out of their diet, but especially those with celiac disease, which gluten is a no. It will definitely flare up the disease, but there's also sensitivities, and sometimes people with autoimmune disease benefit a lot from removing gluten from their diet. But you just want to be careful with the marketing. So when you want to remove gluten, you really just want to cut out grains or anything that has gluten in it inherently. So really just a lot of breads, a lot of pastas that have wheat. And what you want to do is just substitute them with other options. So for example, for pastas, they do make chickpea pastas.
Yes, I think rice.
Oh, rice
Yeah, the
pasta.
Jovial
Yeah.
brands or the Banza, I
Yeah.
believe.
And technically, rice is a grain. So we did not take out rice in our diet, but we don't eat it often.
Or if we do need to do rice, we do cauliflower rice.
Yeah, that too. So there are other options that you can be gluten free, and now there's a lot of substitutes. Do you have any thoughts on gluten?
I don't think we knew about it until more recently, and then it's bad for people. It's inflammatory, so if you need to, you just cut it out. But luckily, the world has come on board, and there are
Right.
a lot of alternatives, so you can and still enjoy everything that you enjoyed before.
Yeah. All right. So then let's move on to the rapid fire like and dislikes. And we're going to go through some quick questions about wellness and health and things that we use in our home sometimes.
For the final segment, how about I ask you some rapid fire likes and dislikes?
Sounds good.
All right.
Let's do it.
Is there any wellness trends you side eye?
It's not necessarily a wellness trend, but kind of like a wellness trends. It's really popular to take a bunch of supplements, do the red light, do like the peptides and cold plunges and sauna and things like that. Really, when your body is out of alignment or under a lot of stress, you could do all of the things, but it's not going to matter. It's not going to move the needle because what you need most is to regulate the nervous system. So that's one thing that I feel like people waste their money when some of the things are so simple, like taking a walk or getting some sun or getting some sleep, things that are just basic fundamentals of health, they don't do. So it just almost seems counterproductive because these things should build on top of these fundamental things. I think they call it wellness maxing, where they're doing all of the things. But if you're not hitting the fundamentals, it's really not going to do anything.
Excellent. Great answer. Is there a product you genuinely love?
Oh my God, there's so many. I already talked about this, but the coconut creamer, that's that layered coconut creamer liquid. I say that because when we went to Whole Foods a couple of weeks ago, they didn't have it and they didn't have a spot for it. And I was really sad because I thought they discontinued it. But fortunately, it's just not at that store, but I can still get it.
Correct.
So
I just go visit my brother's store and they still have it there.
yeah. And then another product that I really love that I've talked about already too is that beekeeper's honey for the immune system. Even though I have been getting sick recently, I still really believe in that beekeeper's honey. Besides those two that I had already mentioned, oh, you know what product I've been really loving recently? So I have my facialist.
Mm.
She does my lymphatic facials and she turned me onto this collagen that's like a liquid collagen. It's like a little box. It's like $60. The premise is that the liquid has the collagen particles broken down so small so that you can actually absorb them. So the idea is that when you do the collagen in powder form, it really doesn't work because it's not getting absorbed because the particle is so large. And so this product is broken down a certain way so that it is actually absorbed into your body and useful. The company is called Zinzino, and I believe they're from Switzerland. Anyway, it's delicious. So the way that I use it is I put it into sparkling water and then I put it in the collagen and it looks just like a cocktail and it's just delicious cherry flavor.
Oh yeah, I seen you drink them around the house.
I'm loving those right now.
Excellent. Is there a wellness hill you'll die on?
Yes, seed oils. I talked about this already. I get so irritated when I see these wellness influencers that are like, oh, they're not that bad. And I'm just like, it's just logical. The way that these oils are made, and I talked about this already, so I don't need to be repetitive, but it just boggles my mind that there are people out there who think that eating this stuff is okay. So that is a hill I will die on. Seed oils are bad. You should try to avoid them at all costs. And obviously, if you can't 100%, that's okay, but you should find other options. And we talked about all the other options that you can use.
I would say for me it would be that you need to get enough protein. I think everybody is deficient in protein and you basically need to find the best alternative for yourself because some people do well with the powders, some don't. Some just eat straight up chicken. I've heard people that they'll put it in a blender and eat it like that, which is not very appetizing, but it works for them. So get enough protein in you.
Yeah, again, that's something that's just logical, right? Like you need those building blocks. I think, particularly, we were talking about maybe aging better, aging a little bit more strong. And as you age, you don't use protein as well as you used to when you're young. So it's really important to get even a little bit extra protein. And then also, just logically, you need protein to build muscles. So if you are working out and you're lifting weights, you do need that extra protein to so that your body can use it to build muscle. So I will die on that hill with you
All
as
right,
well.
I'll hold your hand.
Okay.
Is there something healthy you refuse to give up?
So the only thing that I could think of is coffee because this is like quote unquote healthy. There are some health benefits to drinking coffee, but also if you overdo it, it does have some negative effects. Mostly it can really mess with people's cortisol. This is very personalized, doesn't mean it's going to happen to everybody, but some people are very sensitive to the effects of caffeine in coffee. I love my coffee. I love the warmth. I love the taste. It's something that even though I want to maybe stop drinking, I don't. And I really enjoy my cup of coffee. It's one of the things that makes me happy in the morning. And I only drink one cup of whatever 20 ounces.
12 ounces?
12 ounces.
Yeah,
Yeah. So that's my cup of coffee, but it's only one and I refuse to not drink it. What
sounds
about
good.
you? Do you have anything?
I think the siete chips that are made with aguacate oil, they're on the healthier side, but obviously it's super easy to eat a bag or two in one sitting. And I believe between the three of us at home, a bag will be open for a day,
Yeah.
or I guess hours, and then it's gone. So
Yeah.
we just have to be careful with that.
Yeah, they are so good. They have so many good flavors. But if you're gonna eat chips, those would be the chips.
Correct.
So
Yeah. What's your random household favorite lately?
so recently our washer and dryer crapped out. I don't remember which one. We got a new set. And when we did that, I had switched our laundry products, and the products are from Truly Free Home. They were having a deal, and so I bought all of the things for laundry, and I love all of the things. One of the hardest things for me to find when I was swapping products for laundry that were non-toxic, like when we used to use Downy, but Downy, that fabric softener, you would take stuff out of the dryer and it smelled so good because it was definitely over fragranced and perfumed. Well, I miss that smell from the dryer, and I wasn't finding any good options for that. And from other vendors, they're like, "Well, you really shouldn't be adding fragrance." And I'm like, "Yeah, I know." But this product actually has fragrances added that are essential oils, and they're natural, and they don't put them directly on the clothes. But that angel thing that I make you put in there, that is like a satchel, and it just contains the essential oils, and so it is one way that I was able to actually get some of that scent that's still not super toxic, even though fragrances aren't the best. But
That makes
it,
sense.
yeah, so at least it's a better option. But Truly Free Home, those are the laundry products we switched to, and I really like them.
We use the Truly Free dish soap. That's okay, but you bought some new ones. I think it's called Levant,
Hmm.
right? Yeah, and that dish soap, I feel like it's better. It creates more suds and bubbly to scrub our dirty dishes. Yeah,
The bottles, they're super like chic on the counters, and they come with a dish soap and a hand soap. So it's kind of cool because how many times do we go to the sink to wash our hands? And I'm like, oh, that's so
and
smart.
you just use the
And
dish
now we
soap.
have, yeah, you use the dish soap, and now we have a hand soap, and also it smells really good. So yeah, the Truly Free Home really didn't do it for us, the dish soap, but we're trying this new one, and it's been working out better.
Do you have any hot takes?
Hot takes, yes. So going back to the wellness trends, I think that cold plunges, you'll hear a lot about how great they are, and they could be great for some people, but they could also be not so great for certain people. I guess my hot take is that you really have to know if your body can handle a cold plunge, so that you can do it, because it is a stressor and some people cannot deal with that kind of stressor. So, for example, if you're already under a lot of stress, or you're already in burnout, or you have issues with your hormones, that is going to be actually more harmful than good. That's something that I feel people should be really careful with. And then also, women going through fertility is important to them, or actually pregnant, should definitely not do cold plunges. Do you have a hot take, sir?
Let's see. I think a lot of us know that good fats are good for you. Don't cut them out. If you take good fats, I don't care what Ansel Keys says, fats are good.
Was that Ansel Keys that said that?
Yes, it was.
Yeah, it's like a whole scam or
Hot
whatever.
take. Show us where the bodies are.
Yeah, we talked about the lard and how we still incorporate fats in our milk. We don't cut out the fat. We've decided a long time ago that we were just going to incorporate and keep the fats in our diet. So, of course, like you said, healthy fats, good quality fats. All right, and so that will be it for this episode. Do you have any final thoughts?
I enjoy my time here again. Hopefully, I was able to contribute and help you out with your podcast. And I look forward to the next one.
Well, thank you so much for being here. I think at the end of the day, one of the biggest things that we've learned in health really isn't about being perfect all the time or trying to follow every trend. For us, it's been about paying attention to what works, trying things, and then keeping what makes sense for our lifestyle. And I think health gets a lot less overwhelming when you stop approaching it from a place of fear and punishment and start looking at it from a place of understanding instead. I thank you guys for hanging out with us again and listening to us reflect a little on what this journey has looked like for us so far. If this episode resonated with you, please send it to someone who's also trying to approach their health in a more balanced and grounded way. For now, cuídate mucho, and remember, we heal juntos siempre. Before you go, if any part of this felt familiar, just know you're not alone. Take what resonated, sit with it, and go from there. And if at some point you're like, okay, I'm ready to actually look at this more closely, you can book a call with me. Link is in the show notes. Or come find me on Instagram. I'm usually there talking about all of this in real time. And of course, if you can take a moment to leave me a review, I'd be so appreciative. And if you know anybody that could use this information, please share it with them. Gracias. Your time is precious and I'm grateful you're spending it with me. Cuídate and remember, we heal juntos siempre. But wait, there's more. The legal stuff. I gotta say it. This podcast is for educational purposes only. It's not intended to diagnose, treat, or replace medical care. I'm a pharmacist and a functional health coach, but I'm not your personal healthcare provider. Talk with your physician or qualified healthcare professional before making changes to medications, supplements, or your health routine. Take what resonates, move at your own pace, and make decisions that feel aligned for you.